we start off with Rider Questions Answered. Look at this. Producer Logan has a new image for us to look at here. It's me from the other stream with all my regalia saying that I see a Turbo Hayabusa in your future, brother. That is a good image. Now, if you want questions answered in the future, be sure to submit them through the Discord server. You get started as a member on YammieNoob.co, and you submit the questions. You hang out with me and the whole community. It's a lot of fun. If you have questions wow, my brain. If you have any questions that you want to submit for the stream now, you can drop them in the chat. I'll try to answer them between the questions here if I see a good one. But without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Mr. Receptor on YouTube has asked, would you ever consider owning a two-stroke? Absolutely. So two-strokes, right now, the only new ones you can get are dirt bikes. I'm not a big dirt bike guy. I dabbled with them for a little bit. I have ridden a couple two-stroke dirt bikes, and they are fascinating. They're so lightweight. They're so simple. They make a great sound. They're really, really cool. But I don't have a need for a two-stroke dirt bike. However, perhaps in a few years when I lose all my marbles and I decide that owning an old two-stroke race bike would be a good idea, that's what I could see myself getting into. I could definitely see myself getting a 250cc two-stroke bike to ride on track. Some ultra lightweight, highly flickable, beautiful handling little two-stroke race bike would be a ton of fun. So I would highly consider owning a two-stroke like that. Or maybe an old school 70s Widowmaker two-stroke would be really interesting too. But the pragmatist in me knows that that would be such a headache to own, and I don't think I'm ever going to actually do that. But I have considered it. I've thought about it. The content would be very, very interesting. So yeah. Yogelman on YouTube. Do you see motorcycle culture dying by 2026? What? I plan on joining the club as I turn 16. Then I'll be worried that it'll be outdated or not the same. Brother, that's in like a year. I don't think that motorcycle culture will die in a year. That would imply that perhaps there's some sort of apocalypse, which maybe, like things are kind of crazy right now in the world in general. But I don't think motorcycle culture by itself will die out without some insane external factor. I think it's going to be okay. I think that you'll be able to turn 16, you'll be able to get a bike, you'll be able to join the club. It will not be outdated. It will definitely still be here. There's lots of good people still riding and enjoying older bikes. Actually, the average age of a motorcycle right now on the road is like 12 years, I think. So yeah, Lightning Llama here on chat said the bikes have been around for 75 years. You'll be good. Don't worry. This is like such like a younger person question, but they'll be around in a year. Don't worry. If they're not, I'm out of a job. So I certainly need them to be around for another year. Okay. Jerry Jensen, 9,500. Why don't professional motorcycle reviewers ever address the complexity and cost of maintenance? This is a great question. I believe that when you say professional reviewers, you have two categories of professional motorcycle reviewers. You have people like me who, in general, are just high-level enthusiasts, people who have been doing it for a long time but don't have any professional credentials. I'm not a journalist. I am not credentialed in any way to review motorcycles. I just have a lot of experience with bikes, and I can speak about them in a pretty competent way. Then you also have the other angle of it are professional reviewers, right? People who are journalists who are paid by a magazine, a publication to talk about them. And when everybody's posting on YouTube, the waters get kind of muddy. But I think the reason why we don't talk about complexity and cost of maintenance as much is that it's just not as sexy, right? Like, people want to hear about power and how the bike feels and what's fun about it and what's interesting and how it compares to the competition. Those are the talking points that typically get the most amount of click-through and viewership, because at the end of the day, whether you're writing an article or making a video about a motorcycle, that's really all that matters. You're trying to get the most amount of people looking at your stuff, because that's the way that advertising and kind of content works on the internet, right? And, making videos that address complexity and cost of maintenance, I include in a lot of my reviews complexity and cost of maintenance, but I just don't think it's as big of a deal, particularly as motorcycles have become incredibly reliable, KTM's notwithstanding, in the recent years. So that would be my guess on it right now. Scott Hart 5118 asks me, is the cost of installing adjustable fork cartridges on a Ninja 500 for street use worth it? I plan to keep the bike for a long time. It's actually pretty simple to install new fork cartridges on a motorcycle. And if it's a motorcycle you plan on keeping for a very long time, you will get an incredibly different feeling out of the bike and much more adjustability. There are ways to use the stock internals, the stock fork tubes on a Ninja 500 because they're the same as a Ninja 400. Then you swap out the internals, you put gold valves. You can do a lot of stuff that improves the front end feel of a Ninja 500. I would say the second part of your question is for street use. In my opinion, for a Ninja 500 for street use, it's overkill. If you're taking it on track and you're racing it and you really need the front end to, reduce some of that dive that they have, some of that slop, some of that kind of wallowy rebound that they have stock because it just simply doesn't hold up on track, that makes sense. It's totally serviceable on street. The only caveat I would put there is if you're a much larger rider, it's always worth investing in suspension because the commuter category, the 400s, the 500s, they tend to come equipped basically for like a 150 to a 170 pound rider. They're usually much lighter weight riders in mind. So sometimes you jump on those bikes and the suspension is just insanely bad because you're just simply too big for the spring that's in the rear and the front fork. So that's what I would say. All right, next question here. Dr. Frank on YouTube. As a 55-year-old new rider, I've been watching a lot of videos about safe riding. One area that I'm still not quite sure about are tar snakes. How dangerous are they? Should I avoid them at all costs? Should I avoid them only while cornering? Should I really not be concerned about them? Thanks in advance and thanks for your videos. P.S. I ride a Speed 400. I'd like to actually put this to a poll because I am interested. Do you worry about tar snakes? Because I am curious. There is a road in Austin where I used to live. I live in DFW now, but there was a road in Austin I used to take all the time that was literally riddled with tar snakes. And they are such a funny thing because basically what a tar snake is there used to be a crack in the road, and it's one of the cheapest ways that they can fix the road, right? They just kind of fill it in with like this gummy, goopy asphalt type of thing. I'm not really sure what the compound is. All I know is that it's quite like kind of sticky and gummy. You can feel a very big difference when you're on concrete or asphalt and you veer off into a tar snake. I think when you're mid-corner, it will change the way the bike feels. You can actually feel the tar snake a little bit when you're on there, but it doesn't affect grip so much in my experience, particularly at, regular street pace. If you're just kind of cruising along, kind of carving corners, taking it easy, you're not going to notice, danger from tar snakes. They are designed to have some level of grip. Someone here on chat, Evan, mentioned that only when wet and cornering, and that should always be a consideration, right? Like, if you have less access to grip when it's wet and you're riding through corners, that is when you should try to keep the bike more upright, try to brake much more early, and try to reduce the speeds because your tires just don't have as much grip. Tar snakes don't tend to get slick like paint does whenever it's wet. They tend to absorb the moisture a lot because, again, they're kind of a porous, gummy compound. But, unless there's a ton of tar snakes on this road, it's not a big deal. I would be much more concerned about gravel and sand especially, and wet weather and wet spots, because that can dramatically change your grip as you're going through the corner, right? Like, you're carving it through, nice, dry, hot day, and you hit sand, it will immediately change how much grip you have because you have way less adhesion to the road. Tar snakes doesn't do that as much. So that's what I would recommend. Georgia says, the compound in tar snake is tar. Imagine that. Look at that. It's in the name, folks. You learn something new every day. Okay, Matthew Venti 533 on YouTube asked, what is the best way to get your friends into motorcycling? Okay, so I think the best way to get your friends into motorcycling is to show them two things. Is to show them, number one, how much fun you're having, and number two, how cheap it was to do it. Depending on the circles of friends you have, some friends don't want to spend money to get involved in a new hobby, and that totally makes sense. But if you can show them that it wasn't that much money, and you can show them that it's a ton of fun to do, and it's something to get started with, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. I have not successfully convinced anyone in my personal life to get started riding. I've successfully convinced thousands of people online who already wanted to start riding, but I don't think anyone personally that I know that wasn't already interested in bikes, I got into bikes for them or something like that. I think basically you have to like incept the idea of motorcycling in their brain so that they think it was their idea when they started getting a bike, you know, and when like they start, oh man, I'm really into bikes. You're like, yes, you only think that because I put this into your brain. I sent you Yammie Noob videos that were funny and you watched them and you started thinking about this, right? That's a good way to do it too, kind of subliminally. You know what I mean? It's a good way to do it. You could also have them just sit on your bike and just be like, yeah, man, feels pretty cool, right? Like, what do you think, bro? Like, you know, it could be something like that because if you have a good buddy that's riding with you, it does make the experience a whole lot more fun. All right, I cannot read that. Night HRE Horror 2000. I don't know, on YouTube. Is the US going to see a surge in the popularity of more practical motorcycling? We have a video coming out about this next Saturday. It seems people might be gaining interest in cheaper bikes to ride and use in urban areas. Do you think middleweight and smaller bikes that are more practical, like the NC 750X, Versys 650, and V-Strom 650, will see a surge in popularity with the incoming generation of riders? I absolutely think so. And what I think is happening is that there is now the new baby adventure category. We've talked about this in 2 different videos that are coming out in the next couple of days, but I'm seeing this trend where people are getting drawn to very simple, very cheap, highly versatile motorcycles. Think the Himalayan 450, the CF Moto 450 MT, the new KTM 390 Adventure, the new BMW 450 Adventure. I believe that there is going to be an explosion in cheap, adventurous, versatile motorcycles that you can commute with, take a little bit of luggage with, take on a long trip. I really think that's a big thing. You combine that with the fact that you see more automatic motorcycle options here in America, and I really think that people who live in urban and suburban areas that are close to urban areas don't have a very long commute. People who maybe have to, ride or drive less than 10 miles to get to where they're getting to, but there's a ton of traffic. And I think with the way the economy is going, with how expensive new cars are, I just found out literally a few days ago, I saw a news article that said that the average new car price is $48,000 in the United States. That is bonkers that somebody would go and pay 48 grand for some random Camry or an Accord or, just a regular passenger vehicle, some random crossover. You could get a bike that can do basically everything you needed to do for like 8 grand. So I really think that it's going to be a big change the next couple of years. I've already started to see here in the US that it's starting to look more and more like, and I hate to say it, but like third world countries where you have very, very rich people and you have everybody else. And in countries like that, you tend to see more motorcycle usage because it's just cheaper. It's simpler. It's better. I really hope that doesn't happen. I would love to see the classic strong American middle class, but it's not. It's looking like we're entering a gilded age and money's getting concentrated and there's going to be pretty much, way more people in poverty than there used to be. And you know what? Motorcycles are there for you. They are cheap, they are great, and I highly advocate them as a fun way of transit, Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying this Yammie Noob live stream clip. Remember, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube, I do the streams. If you want a chance to participate in the live streams, head over to yammie.co and become a member. You'll get access to our Discord server, automatic entries to win our giveaway motorcycles, and access to our newsletter as well. It's a great way to support the show. It's like a bike night that never ends over there. It's a lot of fun, and I'm on there all the time. Join as a member on yammie.co and support the show. Someone on chat here, Obscenities, thank you for the $5. What is your opinion on the BMW G310 GS? Also, have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. I think the BMW G310 GS is an interesting little bike. I haven't had too many positive experiences with it because it's a little outgunned in the category now. It's a bit old school. If you look, the dash that it has, is like this old school LCD dash, and I believe it's a sort of rebranded TVS bike from India. I'm much more interested in the new F450 GS. I think that makes a lot more sense for 2025, but it's a good little bike. If you can find a good deal on one, I think there's nothing wrong with it, but I just think that it may suffer some weirdness in reliability and other things like that. Bulur on Discord. Will AI make motorcycles cheaper and more affordable, or just make it more profitable for the businesses? Definitely second option. I think any intersection of artificial intelligence and motorcycling will basically just serve to drive down research and development costs for motorcycling, and you will not see any savings as a consumer, unfortunately. Particularly because if people are already used to paying more and more and more money year over year for bikes, and people are kind of like, I tell people all the time that inflation starts with you, right? I'll give you a perfect example. This is kind of off kilter here. I went to the grocery store a couple of days ago. I was shopping for produce, as any normal human being would do. I saw that strawberries were priced at $7.99 a box. Guess what I did? I took a photo of it, I sent it to my wife, and I said, look at this bullshit. And I didn't buy the strawberries, even if I wanted them. I was like, that's a crazy ass price for strawberries, bro. I'm not paying that. And it's the same thing with everything else. If you show up at dealerships and you show up at, real estate deals and you just keep getting boned and you allow yourself to be boned, the problem will just keep getting worse. People seem to forget that consumerism rests within us. You have to have the ability to say no to a bad deal. But people get in their heads that they gotta get the newest and greatest thing. And then they go and they spend a ton of money on it. And it's so dumb. So, yeah, going back to the point of this question, I think that, in any dimension in which AI is going to make bikes cheaper or more affordable, I could see, again, research and development being aided by AI. Ducati actually currently uses AI for their MotoGP program because they collect so much data. They actually use it to parse out the data and to figure out new learnings and stuff like that. I could see, working with AI to develop new materials or whatever. Again, AI right now is basically just large language learning large language models. That basically they just guess the next word that is going to be in a string of text. They're not actually intelligent, and the hype is largely overblown on AI. So yeah, I think it would just serve to help businesses be more profitable. And also, if motorcycle companies get in on this, it's basically just going to be them slapping AI onto something and trying to raise the stock prices up. Anyways, just my 2 cents on the topic. Lathan Credit on Discord. Morning, Papa Yam. I have a question for the live stream. Are sport bikes dying out and will soon be a novelty? If so, what will replace them? Naked bikes or just enduro and touring bikes? If you had asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have said yes, sport bikes are definitely dying out. The 600 class is not going well, all that stuff. But I've actually been very excited by stuff like the Yamaha R9, the new Panigale V2, the RC990. I think that sport bikes still have a lot to go because, they're very emotional. People love them. They're super interested in them. They're really cool, right? And you can't really get away from that, right? Sport bikes have a very unique allure to people, much like cruisers, and they serve an emotional need for people. And so I don't think they're going to die out, but I do see them going into a very niche market. However, the new sport bikes that are coming out, like the GSX-8R, the V2, the R9, they've all made way more concessions for street use than I ever would have imagined. So I don't think they'll be replaced. I think they're going to live alongside, adventure bikes and touring bikes and naked bikes. But, I don't think it's going to be something that dies out or anything like that. And hopefully here on chat, y'all can back me up. All right, Shane on Discord. What do I tell my woman who doesn't want me riding motorcycles? My last wreck scared her bad, and she wants me to hang up the helmet for good. That's a really tricky one. And this is not a relationship advice channel, but I will give you my 2 cents since you asked me. I believe that if riding is something that's very important to you, and you feel your best self when you're riding, I believe it's in your best interest to do that activity. It is not inherently harmful. Yes, it is a little risky, but it's not something, it's not a drug addiction. It's not a gambling problem. I'm not sitting here being like, yeah, brother, go play the slots, I believe that there are ways to mitigate a tremendous amount of risk when it comes to riding motorcycles. And I believe that if you were to show her that you're taking action to mitigate those risks, she might feel better about you riding. What do I mean by that? I mean that you could possibly ride motorcycles on track more than on street. You could maybe, avoid certain rush hour commutes or more dangerous times to ride. You could maybe avoid riding at night. You could wear an airbag system. There are so many steps you could take to make the experience safer. You could take an advanced riding course to make yourself a better rider. I'm a big advocate of investing in yourself and becoming a better rider and learning new mitigation strategies for being on road and avoiding accidents and incidents. There's a lot of stuff you can do because there's a lot of riders that have been riding for 30 years and have no accidents, and it can't all just be luck, right? Like, there has to be some degree of skill or application of riding that allows you to not get into sticky situations, right? So, yeah, I would say that it might be a tough conversation if your lady wants you to ride or stop riding, but if it's something you want to keep doing, I'm a big advocate of doing what you want to do, man. Don't let anybody tell you how to live your life. Your partner, your boss, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your friends, whoever. If you want to do something, you got to do it. And and she has to understand that and work within the parameters of you wanting to do something, because that's what life is about. All right, Jib sent me a question here. Thank you very much, Jib, for the $9.99. Appreciate it. All right, what's your opinion on the DRZ 400 SM with 3.75 in the front as an enduro bike versus some of the super light bikes that it can keep up with that can't seem to get enough weight on the rear wheel? Wow, that is a super extremely specific question. What is my opinion on the DRZ 400 SM in the front as an enduro bike? Yeah, I don't think you should turn a DRZ 400 SM into an enduro bike. It's super heavy. It wasn't really designed for that. You should just get the DRZ S, the regular dual sport one, and just run it as that. But I will say, if you're running it as a real deal enduro bike, that's tough. They weigh a lot. You can do it. I've seen people do crazier stuff with bigger bikes. It is just going to be a little bit more challenging because the DRZ does weigh about 100 pounds more than a real enduro motorcycle. That's just what I would say. But the DRZ is a great motorcycle. All right, boys, those are the questions. Thank you so much for everybody who submitted. It's already 6:30, so that was quite a long diatribe from your Papa Yam on the economy, on inflation, on artificial intelligence. Hope I didn't lose you there is all I'm trying to say. If you want to ask more questions, join the community and talk about this sort of stuff, join on yammie.co, the Discord server. Although it is full of anime lovers and furry people and tech people, it is a wide and beautiful group of folks. Come out and join. It's a great time. It's like a bike night that never ends. It's a good time. All right, everybody, this video is over. There's no more to watch on this beautiful video between me and you, but this Triumph Street Triple 765 RS is available on yammie.co as a giveaway bike. Hit that link while you're waiting for the next video to load. Become a member. It'll take you as easy as 1, 2, 3, and then you're signed up to win. How cool is that? Papa Yam's giving away 54 bikes. You could be the next one.